Hello, beautiful people. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. My name is Alison. I am a certified dating and relationship coach. I primarily work with women to help them find and keep the partners that they deserve. Today's live stream is going to be an interview between myself and a page called Express Yourself Black Man. And the reason why I have asked to interview this gentleman that runs the page is because I think that it is important that we have a better understanding of the behaviors that we are exhibiting. And instead of us being a part of the gender wars where we argue and fight about why, who does what and where and who's at fault and who's to blame, let's start talking about some of the issues that we face as a community and how we can resolve them. So as we are waiting for my guest of honor to join us, let me very quickly thank those who have joined the live today. Hello, Strawberry Hemp Life, Be Hopeful 3, Kiana M. Hello, we have Marion Pinnick Thomas. I hope I got that right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new to my page and this is the first time that you have seen me go live, please introduce yourself. Please let us know who you are and where you are from so that we can welcome you here to the land of love. Hello, Teresa, the Rubens Cube. Hello, hello. We have lovely Dimpled, who is also here in the building. Thank you. We appreciate you. So right before I introduce our guest of honor, I just want to remind you guys of the 31-day challenge that I will be starting on January 1st. It is called the Alignment Assignment 31-Day Challenge. So if you are looking for an accountability partner, someone who's going to guide you through some of your New Year's resolutions, then this is where you need to be. Go ahead and click the link in my bio and tap the first button so that you can join us for the 31-day Alignment Assignment Challenge, where I'm going to be working with you on a week-to-week basis, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, to get you through your goals in regards to your relationship, your internal and your external see something crawling behind me is scary as hell. Your relationships, friends, family, loved ones, and as well as your relationship with yourself, both internally and externally. Hello, Sandra from New York. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have, Aquila? I hope I got that right, from Chicago. Stephanie says, love your advice. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I appreciate you. Sophia's in the building. Daryl is from South Carolina. We have Brittany here as well. Coco Mama says, how are you, husband and the Munchkin? We are all amazing. Munchkin is at grandma's house so I could do some of this work. Stephanie from Dallas, hello. Someone says, hey, Roro's mom, hello, hello, how are you? I know that our guest came in. I saw it. So again, if you need any help, any support in regards to your New Year's resolutions, you are going to go ahead and join us in the challenge. It includes 4 sessions where we will be in a private Zoom group together. It will be a large group, but we're together in this private space so I can help you to get through your relationship goals and your personal goals as well. We'll be meeting once a week, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, live in Zoom. The sessions will be recorded, so if you miss anything, it is A-OK. You will get lifetime access to those recordings. You also get a workbook that gives you page by page a plan and a breakdown of how to resolve your issues. That is how you get your all access pass. Click the link in my bio, tap the first button. It is $31 whopping dollars, $1 a day. $1 a day to get accountability coaching for the whole month of January. You can't beat that with a baseball bat. All right, we're going to go ahead and have our guest join us in the building. Our friends. And for those who are just joining us, my name is Alison, and I have an amazing guest who is here. Yay! Here we go. So you know what's so funny? We've been talking via DM, and I don't even know if I formally introduced myself.
No,
so
you didn't.
I want to do a formal introduction to you first,
Okay.
And then you could do a formal introduction to me and to the audience. So I'm Alison, certified dating and relationship coach, and I'm so happy that you have found some time and been flexible with me to meet so we can talk about the state of mental health for Black men. So go ahead, take it.
Yes, thank you so much, Alison. It's nice to meet you face to face. Yeah, we definitely been DMing back and forth. I definitely know how things go, so yeah, no worries on that. My name is Kizzle. I am the founder of Express Yourself Black Man. Basically, what we do is we create a community of healing for Black men. And the way that we do that is by leading with vulnerability. So I lead with vulnerability by talking about things that we don't normally talk about as Black men, like depression, anxiety, difficult breakups, suicidal ideations, a variety of different things that impact us that we oftentimes don't feel comfortable enough to talk about. And so I talk about those things openly, also create solutions. I have therapists come on the platform and also create solutions for the brothers that are going through it. Outside of Express Yourself Black Man, well, technically still part of Express Yourself Black Man is a Black man safe haven. We call it Safe Haven, and Safe Haven is basically our holistic healing platform. And what we do in Safe Haven is we pair Black men with Black therapists as part of our low-cost therapy program. So the sessions will be $75 per session. And then on top of that, we pair them with other resources and features and benefits. So we had a meditation session that's going on that we're going to have weekly. We're going to have also, we have a personal finance group in there. We have support groups in there. We have a healing library of a bunch of different content that's applicable to Black men and what we're going through. And just a variety of different benefits for men that are actually interested in taking their healing to the next step outside of getting the free resources that we offer on the platform. We also have a podcast. There's a lot of different things that we do. So I don't want to keep on going. I kind of want to get into the conversation, and whatever comes out, we'll get into that as well. But I'm happy to be here. I'm thankful that you reached out to do a live for sure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being, again, flexible and understanding. I just became a mom 3 months ago, and I don't know if my head from my nothing. So I'm just trying to work it all out.
Congrats. I didn't know that. Congrats.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so let's get into it. You mentioned it, you skimmed it on the top, and you said that there are some issues, some mental health issues that a lot of times men don't discuss publicly, Black men don't discuss publicly. So let's start with, why is that? Why is it such a sore topic for Black men specifically to talk about some of the issues that they face in terms of their mental health?
Man, that's a really great question. Here's the thing, right? So it's very layered. I'll talk about the first thing that normally comes up whenever I hear about this. And the first thing is that as Black men, we are considered, or we're socialized to be the provider, right? So we're socialized from very young to make sure that everybody's taken care of, to make sure that everything is going well. And we don't oftentimes feel comfortable knowing that we are the provider and we're supposed to be like the pillar of our community and our families, to say that we are now in need of that help, right? We don't feel comfortable extending ourselves outside of what it is that we've been taught to be, which is being a provider. So when we know that we're going through something, it's hard for us to reach out, right? And then even if I back it up even more, a lot of us don't have the language for what it is that we're going through. So something could be wrong, but we don't know what it actually is. We don't know how to pinpoint it. And so it's even harder for us to then open up, right? Because before we can open up, we have to understand what's actually going on with us, right? So we don't understand what's going on with us. And then we also have this socialization where we feel like we have to be pillars and we have to be good. Then it's like a twofold problem. And that's just two of the issues. There's a lot more on top of that. Like just the fact that sometimes when men do open up, right, they're met with resistance. They're met with people that aren't accustomed to men opening up. And so when they do open up in those instances and they feel like they get rejected, it leads them to think that, okay, I shouldn't be opening up because this is what I was hit with, right? I was hit with rejection, or it was used against me. And so now I'm not going to open up anymore. I'm going to keep it to myself, because obviously me opening up is going to lead to just more pain and more hurt and rejection. And the maladaptive, or like the negative learned behavior as a result of you being rejected as a man when you open up and you're finally vulnerable for the first time, the behavior that you're taught is, okay, in order to protect myself, I shouldn't open up. So there's three different facets, and those three are basically not having the language, feeling like you can't be, you feeling like you can't not be okay. And then also when you're not okay and you finally do get over those first two things and you open up, if somebody rejects you that you open up to, it can add another layer of complexity when it comes to Black men being vulnerable about what they're going through. So those are the main things that I see that brothers talk about all the time when we talk about opening up and expressing what they're dealing with.
So what can we do from when our men are boys? What should we be doing as a society in order to support these boys as they become men so that they could be more open, so that they could be more expressive? How can we change our behaviors from when we're working with young folks?
Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second. So your question is, what can we do to help young boys to grow into like fully functioning adults? One of the things I always say is letting boys, be human.
Mm-hmm.
I think we dehumanize boys at a very young age, right? And that starts with the boys don't cry, get back up, that kind of language. One of the things that I do with the boys that I have, in my family or that I'm able to connect with is I make sure I let them know, like, yo, bro, it's okay, right? Like, it's okay for you to cry, it's okay for you to be sad, but let's figure out, like, what is it that you're feeling, right? It's about developing boys to be able to process and handle what it is that they're going through. Basically giving them the skills to be able to regulate their emotions and also be able to process and deal with it, instead of just saying, don't cry, tough it up, toughen up, and all the other things that we tell boys that we don't oftentimes tell girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the main things. I think also creating space for boys to be able to open up and talk about these things. And I think, I'm not a parent, right? But the way in which I would say that helps a lot is asking for permission as a parent, right? And I know sometimes this could be a little hard for some parents to understand that you have to ask your child for permission, but ask your child for permission to enter their room and have conversations with them in their room. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that the home is the home, right? But for a child, their home is actually their room, right? Like that's where they're most comfortable, right? And so if you want your child to be comfortable in the space, even though they're in the home, what you want to do is get to them in their room. You want to ask for permission. You don't want to just barge in there, because then you're teaching your child not to have boundaries, right? So you want to ask for permission so that they know how to enforce those boundaries. And then also another thing that's not really talked about with men and boys is how we teach boys to abandon themselves, right? So I talked about earlier the socialization of men, and how we teach men from young as boys that they're meant to be the providers and take care of everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're ingraining this message into a boy's head that you're supposed to take care of everything, in his head it's like, okay, everybody else's priorities or everybody else's needs come before mine, right? So now he begins to think that I need to abandon myself to make sure everybody around me is taken care of. And so the way that you counteract that, right? Because I believe in being a provider, but I believe that providing starts with yourself first, right? And there's some instances in which it doesn't start with yourself, but in most instances, providing starts with yourself first, right? And so the way in which you combat that thought process or that socialization is to teach boys that, yes, it's okay for you to provide for others, but make sure that you're filling your cup as well. Make sure that you're doing self-check-ins. Make sure that you are good as well, because at the end of the day, you can't be a pillar if ultimately you're crumbling, right? And so that's one of the things that I think those three things are very important. So like what I said was teaching boys how to process and regulate their emotions. Also meeting them where they are. That's a big thing, which is meeting them in their room, knocking on their door, asking for permission to enter their room and having a conversation with them. And it doesn't always have to be a super professional or like, it doesn't have to always be like, let's talk about your feelings. It could just be, let's talk about your day, what you went through, just creating that space for them to feel comfortable talking to you. And the last thing is teaching boys what providing actually means, because in society, what we do is we teach boys that providing is actually abandoning yourself, right? And so it's not really providing, it's actually people pleasing, right? Do whatever you can to make sure people are good. And that's not really providing, right? Providing is making sure you're good, and then when your cup overflows, you're able to help other people.
Right.
So those are the three things that I think really will help. That when I have a son, if I'm blessed to have a son, that's something that I'll definitely teach him as he's growing up.
Understood. Can you talk to us about how some of these mental health concerns negatively affect men in their romantic life? So I know you mentioned like some of the obvious, like suicidal ideation definitely is going to impact the individual. which negatively impacts the relationship. But some of the other issues that aren't necessarily as pressing, right? How does that negatively impact how men are showing up in their romantic lives?
You're asking some good questions, man. And the reason why I smile is because, like, so I don't know how tapped in you are into like the podcast space and what's going on like men's personal development, all these different podcasts that we see in society from men. But I think what we're seeing now in society is we're seeing a lot of men that are now getting a platform to talk about what they've been feeling. And a lot of their expression isn't necessarily the best, and a lot of the thought processes that they have around relationships and creating relationships isn't necessarily the best, and it's kind of like the blind leading the blind. So I think to answer your question, first of all, I want to make sure that I'm getting your question correct. You're asking how some of the trauma that men face affect them when it comes to relationships.
Yes, romantic relationships. Yep.
Right. Okay. I can use myself as an example, and I always like to use myself as an example because this is lived experience, right? So for me personally, one of the things that I'll tell anybody when it comes to healing and trauma in general is attachment styles, attachment theory. Attachment styles, just to give people a crash course on what it is, it's basically the way in which we form relationships, the way in which we seek out intimacy, the way we handle conflict when it comes to relationships, right? And there's 4 different attachment styles. One attachment style is healthy, and the other 3 are generally considered unhealthy or a style that you need to work on, right? So the first style is secure, which would be considered healthy. This means that you're able to really function in individuality and also intimacy. That's the way that I normally break it down, right? So there's 2 different components. It's individuality and intimacy, right? And secure means that you function well in individuality. You also function well in intimacy, right? Then we have anxious, insecure. That's what I have, right? And anxious, insecure means that you do not function well in individuality, but you really, really, really do function well in intimacy, and you actually seek out intimacy sometimes to the fault of yourself, right? And so the way that looks in relationships for men is a man that's very clingy, right? He's uncomfortable when you're leaving. And this can sometimes lead to controlling behaviors. He doesn't want you to do certain things because he's uncomfortable with the attention that you'll get, right? And this stems from the way in which he was raised from very young. It may have been from a caregiver that he had at the home, the way in which they loved him, or it could have been from a previous relationship. Attachment styles can form in a variety of ways, right? So anxious is basically not comfortable in individuality and really seeks out intimacy. Then you have avoidant, and avoidant is pretty much self-explanatory, right? So avoidant is very comfortable in individuality and hates intimacy, right? Or not hates, but doesn't want to be in intimacy that much, right? And so an avoidant person is someone that's going to not really want to be intimate with you all the time. And they actually they struggle when it comes to intimacy. And the reason why is because in the past, they probably were abandoned. They probably had rejection. And so that formed this thought process that if I get close to people, they'll hurt me.
Yes.
Therefore, I need to be in my own individuality. And so I'm going to make sure that I don't get hurt by not allowing myself to even be in intimacy, right? And so an avoidant person normally, like what we see with these patterns is avoidant people get with anxious, insecure people, and then they play out this like traumatic like reenactment from when they were younger, right? And so they're in these relationships where one person is pulling away, the other person is clinging, and they're going kind of back and forth, right? And that's kind of what we see in a lot of different relationships. So we have one partner that's clingy, and then we have another partner that's avoidant. And they're doing this because this is what they're accustomed to. This is the dysfunction that they're comfortable in, and this is what they were used to growing up. The last style is disorganized. So disorganized is basically like a combination of avoidant and anxious, right? And so basically what you do, what people have with disorganized, they live in kind of like a contradictory state. They struggle with both individuality and intimacy. It just depends on the scenario and the situation. So sometimes they want to be intimate, but when they're intimate, they're like, dang, maybe I'm being too intimate, so now I need to be in my individuality.
Yes.
when they're in individuality, like, dang, I'm too much in my individuality. I need to be more intimate. And so they kind of sway back and forth, right? And the reason why I went through attachment styles is because when I went through my first relationship when I was really young, I had an insecure attachment style. I had no idea, right? I had no idea that that's what I was dealing with. But I struggled heavily when it came to my partner, her going on, her going on trips, her going to parties. There was nothing that she did wrong at all. But because of my own deep-rooted insecurity and my unhealthy attachment style, I couldn't trust, right, that she was able to handle herself. And so that led to a lot of anxiety when she would leave. That led to controlling behaviors. You're not going here. You're not doing this. Arguments over you just being in your own individuality. You acting in your own autonomy. And so this is what I sometimes see in relationships with men, right? It's where they're uncomfortable with certain aspects of their partner's autonomy, right? And they try and play it off as, no, this is what being a man is, right? This is what this is what a masculine man does. This is what a masculine man needs to be doing. And I'm like, are you sure? Right? Like, are you sure that that's what it means to be masculine? Or is that just you trying to cover your insecurities? And so that's one of the main things that I see. Another thing is betrayal trauma. So a man that's been cheated on before, that can sometimes lead to him, a lot of the times lead to him having trust issues in future relationships, not being able to trust people. A man that's been rejected a lot before. So this is what we talked about, like that avoidant. He'll sometimes sabotage his own relationships. And it's because he's uncomfortable with that commitment of being in an intimate relationship, because intimacy to him feels like I'm going to get hurt. So these are how these things show up. I would really suggest, if anybody is interested in attachment styles, please look it up, do your research. There's a lot of different quizzes that you can take to understand what your style is, and then get with a professional therapist, get with a mental health professional that can help you work through those things, right? And if you guys are looking, we do a free webinar. So I do a free webinar where I teach people how to find a Black therapist, because right now we're in a mental health crisis and it's crazy out here. People are struggling to find therapists. So another way in which we try to give back on the platform is we do that free webinar. We have one coming up on January 28th at 6. That's a Saturday. You don't have to be a man to attend. You can be a woman, and you can just pull up and get the free game. We also give people the opportunity to be paired with a therapist right on the spot as part of the webinar. So if you're interested in that, the link is in my bio, or you can go to expressyourselfblackman.com/links, and you'll be able to see that. But yeah, for anybody that's interested in those, like doing further work on that, like I definitely suggest getting with a mental health professional, because sometimes it can be really hard when you're learning all these different things and you don't have a real process for how you heal after you learn all of this stuff. So I don't want people to feel lost as they hear all of this.
Yeah. Absolutely. So thank you so much for going into those attachment styles. I think that that's super helpful to us. But I have a question for you. There's been, I think, for the existence of time, lots of talk around men and fidelity, whether or not it's in a man's nature to cheat or not to cheat. Is there, and this might be a ridiculous question, but is there any correlation between mental health, the way that a child is reared, and their sexual behavior? Is there a relationship? And before you answer that question, I know one of the things, and it might not be related, but one of the things that I hear a lot about are boys or men talking about them potentially being like, they might not see it that way, but being sexually abused as a child, having sex with older girls, having sex with women, and not having sex. I shouldn't say that, because that's what they say. Being raped by, being molested by, girls, older girls, teenage girls, and women. What is the talk? Because maybe that's a better way for me to ask the question. What is the talk in the male mental health community between fidelity and sexual abuse with boys? I don't know if I'm asking the questions right.
No, you are. You're in the right vicinity, so I can pick up from where you are, right? And so you talked about a couple of different things that are somewhat related, but I want to make sure that I give details. So the first thing I'll talk about is sexual assault of Black men. A lot of Black men are out here getting sexually assaulted, whether it's from older women, men, and it's a lot of times in families. And I know it's hard for us to hear in the Black community. We often attribute that type of assault to white people because that's more comfortable for us to say, but it's happening in rampant numbers in the Black community. There are a lot of Black men that have been sexually assaulted. I am not even surprised anymore when I get a DM from a Black man that's like, yeah, man, this is what happened to me when I was younger. And thank you so much for this podcast episode where you had this person talk about being sexually assaulted, because it helped me feel more comfortable with what I experienced. There are a lot of Black men that go through that. So a lot of times Black men will associate sexual assault with, they will consider it sexual assault if it's a man, but when it's a woman, they don't consider it sexual assault. A lot of times they don't consider it sexual assault. It takes a long time for them to get to a point where they realize, like, no, I was actually sexually assaulted, unless it was like super blatant, or it was like an aunt or older family member or something like that, right? But with older women that aren't in your family, a lot of men that are in those type of situations don't call it sexual assault because they think of it as like this badge of honor. But you were that, in my opinion, personally, right? I do feel like that is sexual assault, and I think those things do play into, maybe not infidelity, but what I do think they play into is hypersexuality, right? So when you're exposed to sex at a very young age, it can mess with the way that you view relationships and intimacy as you get older, right? And so I know a lot of men that were exposed to sex at a very young age. Like, for me personally, I think 14 is young to be having sex. And I know a lot of men that had sex at 14 or knew about sex or whatever. I mean, know about sex is normal, but I think having sex and doing things with other people is a little bit abnormal. And that can lead to a man, as he gets older, being hypersexual. So when you're hypersexual and you're used to having lots and lots and lots and lots of sex, or just sex being accessible to you, and then you get into a monogamous relationship, and now you're supposed to be tied down to this one person, you can see why it can be hard for that person that's been in that type of situation to now be monogamous, right? To now be committed to just one individual. My issue with this conversation, though, is I see a lot of men that try to justify this, that try to say all men cheat. Not even just men, I see women, I see just society, just in general, is trying to make it seem like this is just natural for men. It's natural for men to just cheat, right? But no, there's such a thing as discipline. There's such a thing as knowing when you enter into a committed relationship that these are what the terms and the guidelines are with your partner. And so to make it seem like it's just okay for men to cheat and that's what it is, I don't necessarily agree with, right? I don't agree with that at all, right? I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy to be in a monogamous relationship. I'm not going to say that at all. But at the same time, let's not normalize cheating, right? Like, that's my whole thought process. Let's not normalize that, because what we're basically saying is that we do not have self-control, right? And I don't ever want to have, I don't ever want the thought process to be that men don't have self-control. Like, that's not the thought process that I want. I want for us, I want better for us when it comes to that. So no, not all men do not cheat, right? Some men cheat. And if you're justifying cheating, I would say, please look deep within. The other thing that I would say for sure as well is a lot of men cheat because of ego. I've seen, I've seen some, like, when I talk about cheating, I'll see some men talk about how sometimes they want to make sure that they still got it. You know, they want to make sure that they're still seen as attractive to other people. And so they venture out and they try and see what they can do. That's an ego issue, right? That's you not being able to curb your ego. That's you not having self-control. That's you not having discipline. And in my personal opinion, that's bad morals, right? So I personally am not a fan of that. And I try to talk to men about that. I don't judge, right? Like, I'm not sitting here judging. I understand, but at the same time, let's do a little bit better, right? Let's do better. We can do better than that, right? You can do better than that. And so these are the conversations that I try to have with men when it comes to infidelity, but definitely when it comes to like sexuality at a very young age, or having, sexual intimacy at a very young age. I think that can lead to hypersexuality, and men that struggle deeply when it comes to infidelity and just being committed in a relationship.
Understood. I know there are folks who are just joining us. My name is Allison. I'm a certified dating and relationship coach. Go ahead and reintroduce yourself to the folks who are just joining us.
Yes, Alison. My name is Kizzle. I'm the founder of Express Yourself Black Man, and what we do is we create a community of healing for Black men. And I lead with vulnerability and talk about the things that I'm going through, and create a space for Black men to do the same. So we talk about depression, suicidal ideations, anxiety, breakups, a variety of different things to create a space for Black men to be able to heal.
Good, good. So I have one more for you. It's a personal beef that I have, and I hope that you're patient with me, okay? First of all, before I share this beef, I want to let you and everybody else know who's on this live that my professional mission for next year is to end the gender wars. I do not want to be a part of the side of social media that is he's terrible, she's terrible, everyone's terrible, right? And we can talk about how we're different as men and women and then come to a resolution. So I want to preface that before I tell you my beef. Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm going to tell you my beef. I've always been very annoyed around the messaging that women are not good friends to each other because they will end their friendships over anything, right? Like, oh, you borrow each other's flat iron, you hate each other. You go to a trip to Miami, you hate each other. Look at men. Men do such a better job of maintaining their friendships. My theory has been, and this is where I'm filling you in, is that I feel like men don't tend to have very deep friendships. It's not always. I don't like absolutes. Many times he's his own man. He don't spend time with his kids. Who am I to say? I feel like men don't tend to have very in-depth relationships. So then, of course, it's easy to keep a relationship going if there's no depth to it, right? I want to know your take about friendships amongst men. How do men relate to each other? Do they relate to each other generally in a healthy way? What are the conversations about friendship amongst men?
You know what's interesting? First of all, I'm glad you brought this up, because I'm thinking about conversations that I've had. I've had conversations with women where they'll say that men are more comfortable with their male friends than they are with women, than they are with other people. And so I definitely get where you're coming from, though, when it comes to friendships amongst men. But I just wanted to preface it with that because it's interesting, because I'll see certain things on social media and I have certain conversations, and that's some of the stuff that gets brought up to me, is about how, like, I can't get my man to open up, but he's super comfortable with his friends and he'll open up to his friends, and that's where he feels safe. So I won't say that men don't have deep relationships with their male friends. What I will say, though, is sometimes we don't hold our male friends accountable, right? Because it's hard for us to, I'll just be honest, a lot of men don't have good conflict resolution skills. In order to have conflict resolution skills, you need to know how to communicate with people. You need to understand yourself. You need to understand that person. It takes a certain level of emotional intelligence, a lot of different things that we don't necessarily work on that often as men. So when it comes to holding a friend accountable, it's just like, all right, whatever, man. He's going to do what he wants to do. It is what it is. I'm just going to avoid any possible issues and keep it pushing. I think women are a little bit different. Women tend to want to try and figure things out a little bit more and try and understand what's going on, and have those conversations. I'll speak personally about, like, just my girl and just how she handles things. I know if there's a conflict, she wants to know everything. She wants to get all the information. She wants to know all the details, right? And she wants to have a conversation with that person. Whereas me, I hold my friends accountable, but when it comes to conflict with people that I'm not really generally interested in, I'm just like, it is what it is. I'm not pushing it. I don't care to get more details. I don't really care. Where it goes from here, it goes, and I'll keep it pushing. But I know that that's not the case for my girl, right? So in our situation, a lot of times it's like somebody says, many men live and let live, and that can sometimes be what it is. Live and let live, and I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. I do think, though, I really don't think this is a man and woman thing. I think this is just a human being thing, and we all have our different behaviors that are like formed from growing up and different things that we've gone through. So me as a man, like I hold my friends accountable, but that wasn't always the case. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
always like that, right? Like I had to learn that over time and kind of see different things and realize like, nah, that's not cool. I'm gonna talk to him about that, even if it leads to an issue, because I want this person to know that that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, that may not have been what it was. And those are things that I had to kind of learn and work on through therapy and things of that nature. But it really does vary from person to person. So I try to stay away from the generalizations when it comes to men and women, because what I've seen is that we can have, like, even when it comes to emotional intelligence, a lot of the times the thought process is that women are more emotionally intelligent than men, because women are allowed, right, to talk about their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had conversations with women and they'll tell me like, yo, I don't know how to process and regulate my emotions. I'm able to talk about them, but I never
Right.
have a process for them.
Right.
Right. So is that woman really that emotionally intelligent? How far away is she from the average man that doesn't talk about
Right.
it? Right. She's just comfortable talking about it. So for
Right.
me, like, I don't do the generalizations because it puts people in a box that they may not fit in. And then when you're interacting with them and you're thinking that they fit into that box, you're now kind of having to rewire and relearn, because a lot of times people don't fit into those generalizations that we put on a certain demographic. So I try to learn people for who they are and then go from there.
Yep. I agree with you about women tend to be more expressive.
Yeah.
I mean, they can express, they can say the words, or they can show the behaviors.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that necessarily they're processing, or it doesn't mean they're also expressing it appropriately.
Right.
And then the other piece too, that a lot of times we talk about men, lack emotional stability or lack their ability to express emotions. Men are emotional. It just may depend on which emotion you're looking for. Being angry is an emotion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Punching a wall, it might not be the healthiest way to express. Obviously, you don't want to cause damage to yourself or the wall. But this idea that, men are cold, or men don't have the capability, or they might not have the ability sometimes to express themselves the way that we see fit, or what we might consider as healthy. But men are emotional. Like, this how, like, women are emotional creatures. Humans are emotional creatures.
Right.
We just express our emotions in different ways, or feel safe or feel unsafe to do so, depending on the environment.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much. I want to give you the last word, though. Let us know how we can connect with you, how we can help Express Yourself Black Man, that community, to grow. What's the deal?
Absolutely. And one thing I'll add before we close, somebody said anger is a misplaced emotion, and I want to break that down a little bit for anybody that may be a little confused about that. So when it comes to men, right, because we often aren't given the space to really be able to express, we resort to anger when it comes to any emotion that we're feeling. So a man can be frustrated, and what he will display is anger. A man can be sad, and what he will display is anger. And the reason why he's displaying anger instead of the sadness or the frustration is because he hasn't been allowed to display frustration or sadness. And the only thing that's deemed as acceptable is the anger, right? And so it's about teaching men what the different emotions they're feeling are, and then also giving them range. I had a conversation with Dr. Martin, Raquel Martin, and we were talking about how a lot of men don't have the range to be able to explain what they're actually feeling. Are you angry, or are you infuriated, right? Like, are you sad, or are you like weeping? Like, where are you on that range, right? Because it's important, because at different parts of the range, you're going to need different things, right? And so if you're not able to explain what you're actually feeling, right, and you're not able to express it properly, it's hard for people to give you the help that you need. It's hard for you to get the help that you need. So I'll say that. The last thing I'll say, in terms of like how people can help, follow the platform. Whatever speaks to you, share it with the men around you. Safe Haven is open to all Black men that are interested in being paired with a Black therapist. It's open to Black men that want to be paired with a support network. So that's one thing that I forgot to mention. We have over 250 Black men in Safe Haven that are all investing in their mental health. We have community forums. We have group therapy that's led by therapists. So Safe Haven is definitely a great resource. And then even outside of Safe Haven, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to invest in my mental health right now. Like, I want to just take it easy right now. What you can do is follow the platform, listen to the podcast. We have over 65 episodes with a bunch of different therapists, professionals, advocates that talk about a variety of different things. If you've gone through it, we've probably talked about it and brought up solutions inside of the podcast. So that's a great resource as well, on top of the information that we give freely on the platform. And then also the webinars, right? So the last thing I'll say is the webinar for anybody that's looking for a Black therapist. If you're on a wait list right now, if you've reached out to therapists and they haven't got back to you, just understand that this is normal right now in this time. It's unfortunate, but this is what's going on just because we're in a mental health crisis, and Black therapists are overbooked and overworked, right? And so what I'm trying to do to help combat that is we're doing a free webinar. It's on January 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can register at the link in my bio. And what we'll do is I'll take you through the step-by-step process that you can use to find a Black therapist. And on top of that, we'll give you the opportunity to be paired with a Black therapist that we have inside of our network. Somebody said you need to do it earlier. I saw that. I don't know.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't know if they still. I can't do it earlier. There's a lot of stuff going on. I was gonna do it on the 14th, but I had to travel on the 14th, so the 28th is the day. What I'm gonna try and do in the future is have it recorded and just put it up as a link so that you guys can watch it whenever. But if you're not able to make it, just sign up anyway, because then you'll be able to see whenever we have another one. Somebody said, do y'all have therapists, coaches, and counselors? We do have therapists, coaches, and counselors. How much is a webinar? It's a free webinar. I'm not charging you for the webinar. The webinar is completely free. Somebody said, are you going to say this?
Yes, I'll be saving it, Mocha Princess. No worries. So for anyone who is just joining, this live will be saved. I just want to thank you so much for your time, your effort, your energy. What you're doing for the community cannot be measured. So just thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And then the last thing, somebody said I need it now. Anybody that cannot wait for the webinar on the 28th, please send me a DM. Follow and send me a DM. I'll go through my DMs and I'll see what I can do to help you today or in the near future if you can't wait till the 28th. But Alison, thank you so much for having me. This was a great live, great questions. I'll definitely love to do it again. So whenever you are looking for another guest, let me know and I'll see what I can do with my schedule.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. So before we go, I just want to remind you of what's going on effective January 1st. So from January 1st to January 31st, we have the alignment assignment. It is a 31-day challenge where we are going to get our lives in alignment. You know that I am the dating and relationship coach. However, we're not only talking about romance. We're talking about our friendships, our familial relationships. We're talking about getting in alignment with ourselves, our own behaviors that need some work. We're talking about the external because, yes, how you present to the world, both in person and online matters. So if you are interested in getting on the right track, I want you to go ahead and click the link in my bio and register for the Alignment Assignment 31-Day Challenge. It's going to cost you $31, a whole $1 a day. Oh my God, I can't imagine. Let's talk about what's included in your 31-day challenge for a whopping $31. You're going to get the all access pass. So number one, you are going to get 4 sessions, 1, 2, 3, 4, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be meeting in the Zoom room, and I am going to be your accountability partner. Not only am I going to teach, I'm going to do some live coaching at folks that I select at random, and then we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. So I am going to be your accountability coach every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern through the month of January. Secondly, you are going to get a workbook that gives you activities and tasks to keep you accountable through the month of January, written by moi. So it is well done and has videos and additional worksheets. So you will be able to stay on track. Gone are the days that you establish what your New Year's resolutions are going to be, and then you forget them the next day. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to invest in yourself, and we are going to do this project together to get you started on track. Now, I will be transparent with you, right? This is not the same thing as small group coaching. However, it will give you the opportunity to begin to establish the life that you want for yourself in 2023. The last thing that the All Access Pass is going to provide for you are recordings of our sessions through the month of January. So again, if you are prepared to get your life on track, not just romance, but getting yourself and your relationships with others on track for 2023, you're going to click the link in my bio and you are going to register for the Alignment Assignment 31-Day Challenge. It is $1 a day. It is $31. It will not hurt you to invest in yourself. On that note, I am going to go invest in some time with my husband and go eat some dinner. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for everyone who has joined the live. Click the link in my bio. Join us, the Alignment Assignment 31-Day Challenge, $31, 4 sessions, interactive workbook, unlimited access to the recordings, and I will see you then. Have a good one.